Welcome back to the Short Game Podcast. It is Monday, March 2nd. We are kicking off the leverage week. If you look at the internet today, everyone is bragging about how hard they work. They post pictures of their laptops at 2 a.m. They brag about sweating. They think exhaustion is a badge of honor. That is the clown mindset. Working hard does not make you a tycoon. It just makes you tired. Today we are reading the ultimate playbook for building a machine, High Output Management, by Andy Grove. I'm Drew Meitner. I am 25 and I run NexYear. We build high-end access campaigns for VIPs and CEOs. If I try to hand-pack every custom box and manage every single shipping label, I become the bottleneck. I cannot be the bricklayer. I have to be the architect. Today we learn how to stop sweating and start building leverage. Let's get into it.
What's your name?
My name is Tom Shelby.
My name is Maximus Decimus Meridius.
King Ragnar. That is my name.
Yo soy Pablo Emilio Escobar Gaviria.
I'm Batman.
This is Jon Snow. He's king in the north.
My name is Asax Schrader.
The name's Bond. James Bond.
Antonio Montana.
My name is Patrick Payne.
My name is Walter Hartwell White.
My name is Gustavo, but you can call me Gus.
Welcome to episode 16 of The Short Game. We are officially in the leverage week, and I am fired up to get into this one. But before we even touch the book today, I need to get something off my chest. There is a massive disease out there right now, and it is infecting the entire business world. It is this culture of the spectator. You know exactly the type of people I'm talking about. They are the guys on the internet constantly bragging about how little sleep they get. They post screenshots of their alarm clocks going off at 3 a.m, acting like exhaustion is some kind of elite personality trait. They genuinely believe that blindly sweating and bleeding over a keyboard automatically makes them successful. Let me be completely honest with you. Working 18 hours a day doing low-level repetitive tasks is not a flex. It is just stupid. It literally just means you have terrible awareness and zero control over your own life. To me, this blind hustle culture is the exact business equivalent of sitting in the far left lane on the highway, going 45 miles an hour. It drives me absolutely insane. You are holding everyone up. You are not paying attention to your surroundings, and you are confusing moving your wheels with actually getting somewhere. You are just digging holes in the dirt and filling them back in to look busy. I hate bad drivers more than almost anything in this world, but bad operators in business are a close second. If you are just spinning your tires and bragging about the smoke, you are a spectator. Operators do not care about how hard the work looks. Operators care about the result. And that brings us directly into the core focus for this week. Today we are breaking down a legendary book called High Output Management by Andy Grove. If you do not know who Andy Grove is, he is the guy who built Intel into a global powerhouse. He was an engineer, a sharp thinker, and an absolute savage of an operator. This book is not filled with fluffy corporate jargon or therapy speak. There is zero garbage about finding your inner truth. It is a manual for building a machine that actually works. The core angle we are pulling from Grove today is the concept of leverage. I want you to burn this into your brain. Stop acting like sweating makes you successful. Success is strictly about the output of your system. Grove drops what I consider to be the single most important sentence ever written about business. He says the output of a manager is the output of the organizational units under his supervision or influence. I want to repeat that so it sinks in. Your output is not what you individually do. Your output is the result achieved by the group under your influence. If you are the coach of a team, you do not get points for how hard you cheered on the sidelines. You get points for the touchdowns your team actually scores. So if you are sitting there packing boxes or writing basic emails for 10 hours and your team is standing around doing nothing, your output is practically zero. You are failing. Grove explains that a manager's productivity depends largely on choosing to perform tasks that possess high leverage. Leverage is just the measure of the output generated by a specific type of work activity. If you do an activity with high leverage, you generate a massive level of output. If you do an activity with low leverage, you generate a low level of output no matter how hard you are breathing while you do it. Let us break down how you actually find these high leverage activities. Grove uses a great analogy of a breakfast factory where you have to deliver a soft-boiled egg, buttered toast, and coffee perfectly on time. If you want to increase the output of that factory, you do not just run around the kitchen faster. You figure out the limiting step, which is the time it takes to boil the egg, and you build the entire production flow around that. You have to work smarter, not harder. You increase leverage by affecting many people with one single action. For example, if you spend 2 hours defining exactly what information needs to be gathered for a huge company project, you just gave clear direction to maybe 200 people. That is incredibly high leverage. You just saved thousands of hours of confusion. On the flip side, Grove also talks about negative leverage, which is something I see happen constantly. Negative leverage is when your actions actually reduce the output of your organization. Waffling on a decision is a perfect example. If you sit around putting off a decision, you are basically giving your entire team a red light. Work completely stops. Your hesitation paralyzes the whole group. Another form of negative leverage is meddling. When you use your superior knowledge to step in and take command of a subordinate's task, instead of letting them do it, you ruin their growth and lower the organization's output. You are stealing their pencil when you should be teaching them how to write. Grove says the art of management lies in the capacity to select from the many activities of seemingly comparable significance the one or two that provide maximum leverage. That means you have to aggressively filter your day. This perfectly transitions into good delegation, which is an absolute requirement if you want to be a real operator. Because your time is the one absolutely finite resource you have. How you allocate it is everything. Delegation is not just throwing tasks over the fence and hoping for the best. Grove makes it clear that the delegator and the delegatee must share a common information base and a common set of operational ideas. If they do not share that, the person you delegate to is just going to screw it up, and you will end up having to prescribe every specific detail. That drops your leverage straight to the floor. You have to handle the problem once, establish the baseline, and then monitor. And monitoring is not meddling. Monitoring means checking to make sure the activity is proceeding in line with expectations. It is just like a factory manager checking the quality of the product at the lowest value stage possible before it costs real money. You catch the rotten egg before the customer eats it. To do all of this, you have to run your schedule like a factory, not a drop-in job shop. You have to use your calendar as a production planning tool. Do not just passively let people throw orders at you and fill up your time. Take the initiative to schedule your high-leverage work. Say no at the very beginning to work that is beyond your capacity. If you do not protect your calendar, you will become a victim of endless stops and starts, and your leverage will completely evaporate. Let us talk about meetings for a second, because everyone loves to complain about them. Grove says people who think meetings are just non-contributory labor are totally missing the point. Meetings are not an activity, they are a medium. They are the arena where a manager does his work of gathering information, making decisions, and nudging people in the right direction. But you have to run them with ruthless discipline. A meeting to make a specific decision should never have more than 8 people, because decision-making is not a spectator sport. If someone shows up late, they are literally stealing the company's money and wasting everyone's time. I love that perspective because I have zero tolerance for people who do not respect time. Grove also dives deep into something called task-relevant maturity, which dictates exactly how you should manage someone. Task-relevant maturity is a combination of a person's achievement orientation, their readiness to take responsibility, and their specific experience. If a guy has low maturity for a specific task, you have to give him highly structured, precise instructions. You tell him what, when, and how. But as his maturity grows, you have to back off. Your style has to shift to establishing objectives and just monitoring. If you try to micromanage a high maturity operator, you're just going to piss him off. And if you just vaguely tell a low maturity guy to figure it out, he is going to crash the car. The ultimate goal of a manager is to elicit peak performance from his subordinates. You have to turn the workplace into a playing field and turn your employees into athletes dedicated to performing at their absolute limit. All right, let us connect the dots and bring this all back to reality. How does this actually apply to what we are building right now at NexYear? At NexYear, we build high-end access campaigns for VIPs. If I operated like one of these fake internet hustle guys, I would be at the warehouse physically packing every single box myself. I would be printing the shipping labels, sealing the tape, and driving the packages to the post office at midnight. And then I would go on a podcast and brag about how hard I work. But that is a complete trap. I cannot physically pack every box if I want to scale this business. I want freedom. I love freedom and having literally no one telling me what to do. I want absolute control over my time, so I can live my life, go out with my friends, play a round of golf on a Tuesday, and actually run the overarching strategy of this company. I cannot do any of that if I am drowning in low-level tasks, I have to build a system that handles the business. If I am the one doing the packing, I am entirely failing as a founder. My output is not the physical box. My output is the entire NexYear organization running flawlessly without my hands having to touch every single piece of cardboard. That is what being an operator really means. An operator builds the machine so the machine can do the work. A spectator just runs on the treadmill and complains about how tired his legs are. This brings me to how we handle vendors, and why standardizing vendor relationships is the ultimate form of freedom. I have told you guys before, I hate dishonesty and I hate incompetence. I hate people who make life harder than it needs to be. When you are dealing with vendors in the high-end access space, you run into incompetence constantly. Suppliers will miss deadlines, they will send the wrong materials, or they will just ghost you for 3 days. In the early days, I used to jump in and try to manually fix every single mistake they made. I would be on the phone yelling at a supplier, trying to force them to care. But that is exactly the kind of low-leverage activity Andy Grove warns us about. It is the equivalent of trying to boil the egg faster by staring at the pot. You have to handle the problem once, build the rule, and never deal with that specific brand of incompetence ever again. If a vendor screws up, you do not just fix the one order. You define the exact parameters of the relationship. You create a strict SLA, a service level agreement that dictates exactly what happens when they fail. If they cannot meet the standard, you cut them and plug in a new vendor who can. You remove the emotion, you remove the venting, and you just build a structure that prevents the mistake from reaching you again. This is how you protect your time. This is how you protect your loyalty to your own crew. I want to spend my energy on my inner circle, on guys like Matt, Christian, Gavin, and the rest of my day one crew. I do not want to spend my energy arguing with a cardboard supplier because he lacks basic awareness. If you standardize your relationships and build strict operational rules, you insulate yourself from the chaos. You do not have to be a slave to your own company. You become the architect of the system, not a cog inside of it. When you establish a common information base with your team, they know exactly how to handle the vendor without even asking you. That is true managerial leverage. That is how you win the game. We are getting close to the end here. So let me leave you with something real to think about. Look at your calendar. Look at the tasks you have scheduled for the rest of the week. Ask yourself a brutally honest question. Are you actually moving the needle? Or are you just driving slow in the fast lane? Are you building a system that gives you freedom? Or are you just digging holes so you can tell people how tired your shovel makes you? Stop being a spectator to your own business. Step up, find your leverage, and start operating like you actually want to win. Handle your business.